Well, let's head over to Jersey now, where a looming budget crisis threatens to plague the state for the next several years. And Governor Christie, he finds himself at sharp odds with Democrats over how they're going to bridge this revenue gap. And again, like I told you, it's in the neighborhood of $2 billion. Now, a new spending plan is due on Christie's desk in 2 weeks. Huge questions about whether or not it's going to include the $2.25 billion payment to New Jersey's pension system, something they agreed to only 3 years ago here, or the nearly $700 million the governor has proposed to pay instead of the $1.5 billion shortfall that's in between the two. Now, today I spoke with a bunch of lawmakers, but in particular, why don't you take a listen to my conversation with Senator Ray Lesniak about the challenges New Jersey faces. Senator, thank you very much. It's going to be a fun June in Trenton, won't it?
Not really. We have a huge budget deficit that we have to solve. We have an obligation to ensure that public workers' pensions are secure. Whether you're a private worker or a public worker, anyone upon their retirement should be able to rely on their pension. So we have to make sure that happens, but there's not enough money to do that.
To that end, there seems to be an inevitable collision. The governor's already said, as well as other folks, revenues haven't met projections right now. Jersey's really short, and we're going to have to put in for them a fraction of what basically is due on the pensions. Democrats have said everything from no way, no how. There even could be a shutdown was thrown out there. You and others have advocated at least to be bringing in some revenue for the top income earners here, and that doesn't seem to be something that the governor's going to put his signature on. Help us out here. You've been through this rodeo a few times. Does this take give on both sides?
Yes, and I've proposed that. Okay, the millionaires tax, which would hit high income earners, not just making $1 million a year, $500,000 a year, $400,000 a year, a boost in their income tax, but at the same time repealing the estate tax. I've been told, studies have indicated that it's the estate tax that drive wealthy people out of New Jersey, and that many of them. The income tax would not be that big a deal, especially if it helps solve this problem. And at the same time, it eliminates the estate tax, which in New Jersey is at a very low level and hits a lot of families during bad times, obviously, someone's death. That's a compromise. That's to the governor, who's proposing eliminating the the estate tax, and Republicans as well. How about that compromise? And that allows us to secure public workers' pensions at the same time.
Let me do the political angle if I could. Yeah, but let me do the political angle. I've had some folks from the governor's administration who believes that the one who's really in the crosshairs on this is Senator Sweeney. In 2011, as you know, he made some concessions on the pension deal, and they feel that the governor really holds the cards right now. If there isn't a give back on pensions, the alternatives are there's going to have to be deep cuts here, because the governor's never going to sign, especially with his political aspirations, let's say nationally, any tax hike of any kind. You're talking cuts either to schools or to health care, and deep ones at that, which would be an anathema for a Democratic-controlled legislature. Where do I have it wrong?
No, you have it right, unfortunately. The governor has a gun to the heads of public employees who are going to retire, a gun to the heads of the educational system in the state of New Jersey. That's too bad. That's not the approach that we need to solve this very serious problem. Ultimately, if we have to, we'll put it on the ballot. We'll put the millionaires tax on the ballot and let the public decide what they want. I am certain that the public does not want to jeopardize pensions of anyone in the state. It should not happen. And also that a little boost in the folks, high income earners of the state, in order to solidify folks' pension and put the state on a better financial footing. Excuse me, Governor Christie, your 5 budgets, we've been downgraded our credit rating every single year.
Help out the public, which all of us have to set our own budgets every year. We got a good idea how much we're going to take in off salaries or whatever else, investments, but we're all responsible for creating our budget. How come is it that the state of New Jersey has a projected revenue that every year is so far off. Where does the buck stop there?
Well, every year it's off. This year it's so far off.
Right.
And the buck stops with the governor. Come on, governor, you're the one who certified these revenues. You said these revenues were coming in. You can go to the bank on that. When he did that, he was a big presidential candidate. He was a candidate for re-election for governor. It made him look good. But now chickens are coming home to roost, and we have to deal with a very serious problem that he created. Help us, governor. Help us solve the problem. Work with us. That's all I'm asking.
You got a prediction between now and the end of the month how this plays out?
I have none.
At least you're honest.
I have none. Other than we'll keep trying.
Yep.
We will keep trying, and if we have to go to the ballot, we will, because we have an obligation, as I said, to make sure that any worker who retires can rely on their pension.
I know this is complicated, but how much more complicated is it because of the hearings that are going on here with Bridgegate?
I think it's more complicated because the governor is on the Jimmy Fallon show, and he's over here campaigning for this Republican candidate in this state, and he's not here personally to deal with the problem. He should be here on a day-to-day basis. We need to work 24/7 to get this done. I think that's a bigger problem.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, Senator. I think you guys are going to need it here, but thank you. I appreciate it.
We'll work as hard as we possibly can. We have to. We must.
All right. I walked away, guys, with a couple things. One is the unions who didn't like the deal that Sweeney, the state Democratic leader in the state Senate, what he struck with the governor. If 3 years into a 7-year plan, the governor is saying, I'm going to pay you 30 cents on the dollar for pensions, if they capitulate at all on this, there's going to be, unions are going to go nuts in Jersey. The next front for the war on pensions for public employees is going to be in New Jersey. And I got a feeling the governor will come up a little bit, but he ain't going to pay the whole freight here. And there's going to be big problems. I don't think there's another way around it, and I don't think this stops in Jersey. The other thing is, I think Christie gets past the bridge thing. I heard a few folks telling me, well, I never thought it went all the way to the governor, but I still want some questions. But they went farther than they had to kind of absolve the governor here. Not that he gets a complete pass, but they don't think the fingerprints go all the way up to him. It was very interesting.
You know why I agree with that? Why I don't think it went up to the governor and why the Democrats may be pulling back a little bit is because the governor is a very smart man. He's a former U.S. attorney, and he knows that he wasn't going to go on a limb lying to everybody as loud and as boisterous as he could be by saying, I had no part to play in this. I did not know, unless he knew for a fact that the evidence would not bear out in the end that he was in fact part of it. I think that he was smart enough to know that. Whether or not he knew
we'll see
is
what
different.
the U.S. attorney finds and the
But
U.S.
what
attorney's investigation finds, because that's the different one.
Because
Absolutely.
no offense to the lawmakers, that investigation really is irrelevant when you think about it. It'll be seen as partisan politics, even if they came up with something. But the U.S. attorney, the criminal investigation, if it's close to Christie, and remember, we haven't heard from the top players, and that the governor threw under the bus.
I'm saying, though, that the U.S. attorney will find nothing. The reason why is because the governor himself knows what the evidence is, and he feels safe. I'm not saying that in reality he knew or didn't know, or I'm just saying that the evidence won't prove him out to be liable in this situation.
As for the budget issue, this is the most predictable problem that the state could have possibly
Year
had.
after year.
It's like they went 90 miles an hour past a sign that said bridge out ahead, and then they're amazed that the bridge is out when you get
I want to tell you this now,
I'm sorry,
Andrew,
that's a bad example in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's very different. But they all said,
No pun
listen,
intended.
we've always screwed around with this. We come up with some gimmick in the 11th to 12th hour. They're like, we're out of them. We don't have anything to do. There's no easy cuts left. They already did them all. And while you say, $2 billion on a $32 billion budget, you can find it, right? It's less than 10%. They say, no. You don't understand. So much of the stuff's mandated that it goes to. The only place where they can cut out of this.
How about raising taxes?
Well, they talked about a millionaire tax, right? And they also talked about, and they'd even trade the estate tax for it to do the millionaire tax. But the governor said, DOA never signed.
No, but no offense, Richard. You're sounding like a Republican. Like there's no other options here.
No, I'm with you. Except
There
I'm
are
only,
options.
I'm only
Raise
saying
taxes.
The governor will.
Really?
The governor will
Yeah.
play chicken on this.
Okay, wait.
it's not a political option.
A Republican already has trouble.
No, but
with
I don't
running
want to
for
take that
president.
off the table before we discuss it.
It's not.
We have a public pension.
Brad,
we owe. It's a responsibility to the people.
I think the practical thing is you got to find revenue somewhere. I'm only saying this governor will do a veto. He will make sure every camera is in there when he does the veto signature.
Yeah,
on
but
it.
how many Democrats are going to be empowered enough, strong
They don't have enough
enough
to override.
No, to be able to say, let's raise taxes, Governor.
Oh,
they'll
say it now. They all said it to
okay.
me.
You
But
know
what
what
they're
worries
afraid of is they're afraid
Democrats
that
are
they can't
becoming
win.
like Republicans. They're afraid to say, let's raise taxes. They want to be Republicans, or they're trying to act too much like Republicans. Like, look, we don't raise taxes. Republicans don't raise taxes. We're all the same
They
here.
just want to be popular, and they're still convinced that that's the key to popularity. If you don't raise taxes, you're still going to get elected. Look at Andrew Cuomo in
I'm
New
curious,
York.
your guys. I want Brad's take on this one too. Eric Cantor's shocking loss in Virginia has got a lot of people doing the what if and why exactly went down. The RNC chairman, he's downplaying a divide within the GOP. Is Reince Priebus, I love saying that name here, is this guy delusional, or is he right here that we really shouldn't read too much into that race? Talk about that and Hillary after this.